people, my name is Janaína. I'm 34 years old. I am from Brazil and I'm living in Norway now. So I'm doing these videos in different subjects, and today I want to talk about my experience with poverty. I think I talked about this before in my videos, that I consider myself, when I was growing up in Brazil, poor, but it's a little bit different concepts of what is to be poor, how poor people are in different levels of poverty. Well, when I was growing up, I was not really that I had enough food to eat. It wasn't all kinds of food. Like when you're poor, you have classifications of food: that are fancy food, or just something to fill your stomach. So there are some. In Brazil, we have something. If you have mistura is something that means mixture, something that glues. But essentially, what it means is meat, some kind of meat, white meat or red meat, fish or what. It's meat, some animal source. So if you have every day, so then you're not that poor. But I grew up in a house with not finishing the walls and always fixing, because didn't have enough money to fix all at once. And there's something that I actually miss about this time, is that I was walking barefoot. I miss walking barefoot because it's impossible here in Norway. Not only the cold that doesn't allow you to really be barefoot all the time because it's cold, but also because you have to go to the park. Where I lived in Brazil, we don't have pavement in all the streets, so you could walk in in the ground, in the sand, in the grass, so it's comfortable. I remember as a kid, I have a big family, and I have 8 brothers and sisters, so if I wanted to have some time for myself and some silence, and I was very good reading, and I read a lot of books when I was a kid, and then I would climb a tree, go up on top of the tree, and a mango or cashew tree, and sat there with my book to have a little peace, until my mother find out, and then start screaming when she needed me, come along and clean the house or something. So that's something I miss: climbing trees, be able to climb trees, and to walk barefoot. And not always we had the money to buy the flip-flops that we use a lot in Brazil, the flip-flops. And then, because it's not very comfortable in a warm weather, I lived in a city that is 300 days of sun, and the lowest really temperature is 22-25 degrees, so it's hard to be in closed shoes all the time. But when I was going to school, after some time they require for kids to wear tennis to go to school, and it was difficult because many brothers and sisters. The good thing that made me actually look that I was rich, kinda, for my area, is because my father always had a job, steady job. He'd never been unemployed for too long. He was a truck driver and then a bus driver, and always had jobs. He was steady for many years in one company, many years in another company. So we had food. But then I was 12, then we moved to another place in the town. There was a bigger house and a bigger land where I could climb the trees, my trees in my place. I didn't have to climb other people's trees. And but the hard thing is, we live on that. It was that they didn't have running water. Then I felt it was horrible. I had to carry this water myself for the whole family. I was the oldest, and it wasn't easy. I think I have back problems to this day because of that, because I had to carry water for all the consumption for the house. So there are things that I am really grateful today. Is one of the things is for having running water. I feel here in Norway is a very good quality of water, first of all. That's not very good quality of water everywhere where I was living in Brazil. So you could not sometimes just drink the water straight from the tap. You have to boil and filter or buy it, which is expensive. So there's a lot of things I am grateful today, and one of these is to have running water. So for me, the concept of being rich is a little different from I see other people. Yeah, we had this a lot. It was not very well cleaned and not paved places. So, and I had to walk. When I moved to this place that didn't have running water, I had to walk long way in the sun, because we had to go in midday sun sometimes back home to the school. So then sometimes I took a shortcut to a landfill, through a landfill that is on the way from my new home, my home that I moved to, and my school. There I had the experience, and I met a lot of people that actually was surviving eating trash, and that gave me a different experience. People that are a lot poorer than me, that actually the kids were with them, they couldn't go to school, the kids helping to gather trash to sell, the metal or plastic, or in materials like copper or something like that, and they actually came trucks from the supermarkets and throw the food, and they were eating this trash. And that was something that always in my mind sometimes, and the smell was bad. I was just going through the place because it was shorter, but then after some time you get nauseous and I couldn't do it anymore. I would rather take the longer way. My father didn't want to pay for the bus, and then I just walked, but I walked the longer way many times, because I felt that was too much for me to take, for me, Brazilian, to see the kids in that situation. They didn't have a shower, and so it's interesting about this, the perspective that people have of what poverty is. I remember thinking sometimes, when I was going through that, even though we was studying, and when I see, oh, the kids are having yogurt, and my father doesn't buy me yogurt, you know. I had this a couple of times, I felt that. But then I think, well, but the yogurt is bad there, and study. But kids don't think about that. But today I know that. So, the experience I had when I was married, my situation in my home wasn't that great. I also don't have a good relationship with my parents, and my mother was married. She had the first kid when she was 12. So my parents had this idea, well, a woman has to be married and leave the house as soon as possible, so we have to give expenses for the house. So when I was 14, I left the house with a man because of this hostile environment, and I felt that actually my father actually said that I was older enough and I should be finding someone to marry. And then I did. But then it didn't work out. After 6 years, I had to go and live by myself with no help from the family on the road with 3 children. So then I experienced again. It's like I was living with a man, he was paying all the bills, and financially it was kind of comfortable life. He had even a swimming pool in the house and everything, and clean clean place, and I didn't have to worry about work. But then I was another problem. I found another problems. There was hostility and domestic violence and controlling. I was beaten and things that until to this day affect my life. One day he hit me very badly and I was pregnant, and I just decided that I should leave him. And I left. And then, like, I was reading some articles about that before I started the video. What happens with women that do that, they leave their husbands, is that they have a lot less income, and then they go back to poverty. Is what happened to me. I went back to poverty for a few years until I could have a job, a stability, organize myself. I was really in hard times, but because also I wasn't settling for one job that I hate. I'm a little bit stubborn, maybe. When I want something, I go after, but it's with challenges, and I moved jobs at different jobs and different challenges. I don't know if it was right or wrong, but I'm here, and that's what I did. But for a single woman in Brazil, it's not easy. So I found a work, finally some steady work in a government in another town, 200 kilometers from my original town. And I moved with the 3 children. Wow, it's a steady job, a government job that is actually for life. People do some tests, and if they pass the test, they're qualified. So you can have a for life. They cannot fire you. That's how it works. So, but the thing is, in that town, the so small town with 10,000 people, I'm from a place that is 8 million people, 800 in the town, and then a little bit over is more than a million. So it's a big difference. It's a totally different environment, sometimes very hostile to people that are modern. I felt that I was changing totally the environment, and it was a great experience, but tough. It's kind of difficult to be single, to find people that you know, but actually I found one person that I knew from before, and it was amazing that I had a friend. But 10,000 people I couldn't handle for too long. I just lived there for 2 years, and I resigned, because you can resign, but you cannot be fired. So then I met my current husband when I was back to my town. But what I'm gonna say about that city is, it was for 3 months I didn't receive a salary. For some weird reason, political issues in this town, I received afterwards a whole salary, 3 months. But then I said, what am I gonna do? So I started doing because it's not like here in Norway. People don't have savings in Brazil. People in poverty, normal people, they don't have really savings. When something like that happens, you have to do something for now. So this is another thing, that being poor gives me a lot of experience with crisis, you know. Like today, I have a lot of experience with dealing with crisis. You know, I know I have solutions for things very quickly, and what I did that time, I started offering myself to cleaning houses, and sometimes only for the food in this town for the rich people. And people kind of like, because I was kind of well educated. So there is, now I see very clearly that there is such a thing as a well educated maid that makes them be more valuable in the market. So that is something that people sometimes, who come to Norway, they don't understand very well. Like, they don't have, here in Norway, they don't have the experience with poverty so much, that they don't understand how hard it is sometimes for people in a poor country to survive. And right now, for like 2 years, I think, 1.5 years, Norway, where I live, has been in a crisis because of the prices of the oil. Then a lot of people losing jobs and going through tough times. But people ask how it is affecting me. I say, well, I'm not saving much money like before in the beginning, when I was in Norway, and was everything fine. But it didn't affect me so much because I know the value of money, and I save money. I know how to save money. I used to, I did courses, and I learned how to use the skin of the fruits to make fruit, and I do this to this day. I know how to survive in a hostile environment. Maybe too much sometimes, I feel. So yeah, so that's ranting so much. I went all over the place like all the videos, but that's a little bit of the experience I had with poverty that I feel it made me stronger for now to as an adult. But more and more I know, like I get to know in Norway refugees that comes from war zones, real war zones, and even though Brazil is very, very dangerous place, sometimes I used to compare it to war zone, but well, women have a lot of challenges in Brazil, and there is a rape every 7 minutes, but I met people that was in real war zones, and then I tried to not be too much asshole and feel that I am poor, I will be poor, and sometimes even I came to realization on many things, how privileged I am, because I look European, a little bit more European than others. One day I took a taxi here, and this man was from Kosovo, the taxi driver, and then he was asking where I was from, and I said I'm from Brazil, and he said, you don't look from Brazil, you look more European. And I didn't realize, because I thought I looked so much Brazilian, but no, my father is white, you know, my mother is like me, but I have black in the family, but yeah, I have a lot of privilege because I can blend into the culture, and I could have a lot of advantages because of my European appearance. So, and I just realize now how it is. I'm always in good mood. I'm very flexible. So, but for a person that it comes from a war zone, not European looking, and with all the problems that comes with it, I can just imagine how hard it can be for them to go on and live life in poverty. So, yeah, I just want to say my experience. I have much more to learn in life, and maybe I talk more about that if I have some questions of people, and but yeah, that's it for today. I'm gonna go work. I wake up every day. I have a bad habit to wake up every day 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and then I have to work. So I see you guys next time that I'm inspired. Beijinhos.